Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are breaking down an absolute masterclass in tabletop storytelling. We're talking about the climax of the Infinitum campaign, specifically the legendary Session 20. Now, if you've been following the lore, you know the stakes have literally never been higher. The Holy Crusaders are going head-to-head with the server's most ruthless player, Genghis Khan, and it is a battle for control over the entire virtual reality universe. We're going to unpack this epic showdown together, from the terrifying opening moments right down to a final twist that absolutely nobody saw coming. So, let's get right into it.
Okay, picture this. The finale kicks off with a massive, server-wide broadcast. Our heroes, the Holy Crusaders, log into the main hub and are instantly met with a looping video of Genghis Khan, projected right on the news board. Every single player in Infinitum is watching this happen. He already possesses 9 out of the 10 legendary crystals, and he knows full well the Crusaders have the last one. The sheer arrogance of this challenge is just off the charts. It's an open invitation to a trap, broadcast to everyone. And the Crusaders, knowing the trapped souls inside their avatars are counting on them, they have absolutely no choice but to accept.
But before they even step through the portal, we really need to understand the emotional weight the players are carrying into this fight. Because remember, Infinitum isn't just a game. These avatars house real trapped souls. While they slept, the players finally managed to bridge that gap. Avia, thanks to her unprecedented 100% compatibility rating, is actually having full-on conversations with her avatar's soul, Zeralith. Meanwhile, Alex finally learns that the barbarian he controls is named Marcelo, and Kenneth discovers his towering Goliath is actually a soul named Mr. Illegal. This completely shifts the stakes. They aren't just fighting for some rare loot anymore. They are fighting for the liberation of the very bodies they inhabit.
Right, so the Crusaders punch in the coordinates Genghis Khan provided, fully expecting to step into a heavily fortified castle. But instead, as they cross the threshold, they are greeted by this terrifying visual. It's not a fortress at all. It's a vast, completely desolate wasteland. And dominating the horizon is this impenetrable, glowing, magical defense system. The sheer scale of the environment immediately tells them that Genghis Khan has completely rigged his private server to be an inescapable death trap.
And when I say massive, I mean massive. 300. That is the height, in feet, of the terrifying central tower looming over them. That's like a 30-story building. Surrounding this colossal monolith are 8 smaller, 60-foot towers, and what connects them is a really complex web of glowing, multicolored magical ley lines. Captain -2 casts Detect Magic, which confirms that these smaller towers are actively feeding a massive, protective barrier around the main tower. It's a total architectural nightmare, explicitly designed to make any invading force feel entirely insignificant. Almost immediately, the fortress's defense mechanism activates. A massive, crackling ball of electricity forms right above the central tower, grows to an enormous size, and hurtles directly toward the party. The trap is sprung instantly. The group has to jump back through the portal to the main hub just as the energy completely fries the ground they were standing on. They realize the entrance is locked down tight, but in a moment of brilliant quick thinking, Captain -2 uses her photographic memory of the layout and her Instaport upgrade to completely bypass the lethal perimeter, teleporting the team directly to the door of the closest outer tower.
And this brings us to a really wild tactical puzzle with the outer towers. Once inside, they find a captive goblin suspended in a magical energy ball, and that's what is generating the tower's power. Volha, trying to be the hero, shoves the goblin out, which tragically actually kills the goblin upon impact, and suddenly Volha gets sucked into the trap himself. To cut the power, he has to physically grab and pull the magical strands of the ley line, essentially pinning himself inside the energy ball just to hold the weave back. Realizing this is the only way it's going to work, the rest of the team has to split up to the other 7 towers, sacrificing their own freedom and mobility to dismantle the barrier piece by piece.
Think about the agonizing contrast here. You've got the Holy Crusaders, our supposed heroes, completely immobilized, trapped inside 8 individual energy balls all across the compound. And on the flip side, you have the sheer, unchecked arrogance of Genghis Khan. His voice is literally booming over a server-wide voice magnifier, and he is just laughing at their pathetic state. He is broadcasting their total failure to every single player watching back in the main hub. It feels like the ultimate moment of humiliation and defeat.
But then, the mocking laughter abruptly stops. Khan's voice rings out in total shock, yelling, "What? Impossible! What are you doing here?" And suddenly the magical energy balls vanish, dropping the exhausted Crusaders right to the floor. So what happened? Well, off-screen, Dracus, the freed soul leading the Drow rebellion, actually managed to infiltrate the throne room. He caused a critical distraction, sacrificing his own life to dispel the trap and permanently drop the barrier around the main tower. It was this incredibly unexpected, heroic sacrifice that blew the path to the final confrontation wide open.
Okay, the barrier is down, and the Crusaders breach the central tower, only to face this crucial number, 30. They find a massive hollow cylinder with 30 floors of circular stairs winding all the way up to the top. Keep in mind, this party is already physically and emotionally drained. Now Captain Dash 2 and Arya use magic and racial abilities to just fly straight up, but the rest of the party? They have to engage in a grueling, panic-inducing sprint of 30 stories of stairs, muscles absolutely burning as they race toward their destiny.
When they finally reach the summit, the cinematic details of this arena are just incredible. Genghis Khan is sitting patiently on a throne constructed entirely out of swords. Hovering right above him is a semi-spherical streaming device, ensuring the entire server is watching their impending doom. And chillingly, the corpse of Dracus is just lying there on the floor. With cold, calculated cruelty, Khan casually pushes Dracus's body right down that 30-story hole in the center of the room. Then he draws his legendary insta-kill greatsword, and the true battle actually begins.
And guys, this wasn't just a simple slugfest. It was a dynamically scaling nightmare. The fight escalates through 4 intensely grueling stages. Phase 1 sees Khan split into 8 clones. In Phase 2, he merges into 4 larger, more powerful clones. Phase 3, they consolidate into 2 massive giants. And finally, Phase 4, he merges into one single colossal boss entity that summons a literal world-ending meteor. It is an absolute masterclass in escalating tension that pushes the party to their absolute breaking point.
Phase 1 is just pure chaos. Genghis Khan splits into 8 identical copies, teleporting wildly across the room and pulling each party member into an isolated one-on-one duel. The panic sets in instantly, because these aren't just visual tricks. The illusions deal real, devastating damage, yet the players' attacks pass right through them. In a totally horrifying sequence, both Arya and Spider-Goo are struck by the insta-kill sword and drop dead instantly. This forces Brother Ezekiel to desperately burn through his most precious high-level healing spells in the very opening moments of the fight, just to keep the team from wiping.
To survive the boss merging into those larger forms, the players really had to dig deep into their unique lore abilities. You've got Avia leveraging her 100% compatibility, syncing her mind perfectly with Cyrillith to land devastating blows with her newly acquired insta-hit sword, literally cutting through the illusions to find the real Khan. And at the same time, Volta taps into his hidden Goliath racial traits, physically expanding his size so he can go toe-to-toe with the massive boss forms. The game mechanics and the narrative of the trapped souls are just syncing up perfectly here to counter this overwhelming threat. By Phase 3, the physical toll on the environment is catastrophic. The clones merge into 2 titanic giants, and their clash with Valhalla actually begins to tear the fortress apart. The ceiling starts to collapse. Huge mounds of jagged stone rain down on the exhausted party. So now they aren't just dodging the boss's lethal strikes anymore, they are desperately weaving through falling debris as the very foundation of this 300-foot tower quakes beneath their feet. Every single swing, every dodge, it's fueled by pure, desperate adrenaline.
Which brings us to the mechanics of a legendary action. For those unaware, this is a devastating move a boss can trigger completely outside of the normal turn order, instantly upending the battlefield. Just as the party thinks they have him cornered, the 2 giants merge into one singular colossal Genghis Khan, and he uses a legendary action to heal himself entirely back to full health. Then he raises his hands to the sky, and a flaming meteor materializes above the collapsing roof, hurtling directly toward the party.
Talk about a terrifying moment. This is the ultimate contrast of impending doom and hidden hope. The Crusaders are completely spent. Brother Ezekiel is entirely out of healing magic. The meteor is falling, and Genghis Khan roars, "And now you die!" But wait, Captain Dash 2 had cast invisibility earlier and stayed entirely out of the fray. She's been standing there calculating the exact geometry of the room, clutching the Instaport device, just waiting for the exact right millisecond to strike.
And here is how she pulls off one of the greatest tactical maneuvers in Infinitum history. Step 1. Captain Dash 2 breaks invisibility and instantly places a horizontal portal directly underneath the hurtling meteor. Step 2. She opens the vertical exit portal right in front of Genghis Khan's colossal face. And Step 3. The meteor plunges into the entrance and blasts out the exit at terminal velocity, slamming directly into the boss's face and launching him completely off the 30-story tower. which gives us arguably the single most satisfying piece of dialogue in the entire campaign. As Genghis Khan, this ruthless dictator who terrorized the server, the untouchable titan who constantly bragged about his invincibility, realizes exactly what Captain Dash 2 just did. He only has time to utter two deeply anticlimactic words before taking a meteor to the teeth. Oh crap, it is just a moment of pure, brilliant irony.
The impact is absolute. The 30-story tower finally gives way, crumbling into a catastrophic avalanche of stone and iron. A massive, suffocating cloud of dust blinds the party, but Captain Dash 2 uses her very last Instaport charge of the day to safely blink the team down to ground level. As the dust swirls, Valha feels a tiny, subtle brush against his side, but in the adrenaline of the moment, he completely dismisses it. When the air finally clears, there lies the body of Genghis Khan, defeated, shrunk back to his normal size, and the server just erupts in cheers.
But wait, the tone completely shifts here. Barkin eagerly loots the insta-kill greatsword from the body. The players are crying tears of joy. The server is losing its collective mind because the impossible has been achieved. But as the Crusaders frantically search the boss's pockets and inventory, they freeze. A sudden, chilling realization washes over the group. The legendary 10 crystals, the literal keys to controlling infinitum, are entirely missing from Genghis Khan's body. Where are they?
And then, out of the settling dust, a familiar voice asks, "Looking for these?" It's Dracus, and in his hands, clutched tightly with a terrifying calmness, are all 10 crystals. The number they had bled and died for, the ultimate prize that decides the fate of every single trapped soul in the game, is suddenly in the hands of the very person's corpse was thrown off the tower just minutes ago.
So how did he pull this off? Let's break down exactly how Dracus executed this mastermind betrayal right under everyone's noses. When Genghis Khan tossed his body down the tower, his fellow Drow were waiting at the bottom and immediately resurrected him. He then just sat there, waiting out the entire grueling, exhausting boss fight. When the tower fell and the dust storm blinded the Crusaders, Dracus used his Drow blind sight to walk right up to Genghis Khan's corpse and loot his 9 crystals. And that subtle brush Valhalla felt in the dust, that was Dracus pickpocketing the final 10th crystal straight from Valhalla's inventory. Just absolute, flawless treachery.
The Crusaders are paralyzed. They try to draw their weapons, they try to cast spells, scream, but they literally can't move. Dracus holds the ultimate power over the game's code now. He looks at the very heroes who paved the way for his ascension, snaps his fingers, and the entire world of Infinitum goes instantly white. And that is exactly where Session 20 ends. A monumental victory snatched away in the final seconds. So, I have to ask you, what do you think happens next now that a freed, rogue AI controls the entirety of the Infinitum universe? Thank you so much for exploring this with me, and I'll catch you on the next Explainer.